Hello everyone, you are on the Auto Advisor channel. Here we talk about cars and how they work in simple words. Today we'll talk about what a car's clutch is. Let's consider the simplest type, a single plate clutch, which is used for manual transmissions. As you already understood, the clutch is installed between the internal combustion engine and the gearbox. It's the clutch itself. It was designed to allow the engine to be disconnected from the gearbox. It allows us to change gears, it allows us to accelerate smoothly. And also, if you press the clutch pedal, you will stop. That is, the engine will still work, but the gearbox and transmission will not rotate. An auxiliary purpose of the clutch is also to dampen torsional vibrations that occur in the engine and to prevent them from being transmitted further. Quite conventionally, the operation of the clutch can be represented as two discs or plates. Here I have two discs, each on its own shaft. When two plates come in contact under the influence of friction forces, one plate can transfer rotation to the second plate. When these plates are disconnected and there is a gap between them, then the plate can continue to rotate, but this one will not rotate. In this case, this is my internal combustion engine. This is our flywheel, this is the gearbox, and this is the clutch. Here is the clutch plate and gearbox in black. But if you notice in the diagram, there are actually three plates. This is the third plate. It is called the pressure plate. Mine will be yellow. Its purpose is to press on these plates and compress them against each other. That is, when the clutch is open, there will be gaps between the plates. When the clutch is closed, it is when you release the clutch pedal, this plate presses all the plates together, which is why it is called the pressure plate. Now let's look at our samples. Here is the clutch plate itself. I have it here, and I show it again. Here it is in black. Here is its design. There are friction linings here. This dark colored friction lining and this dark colored friction lining. They are secured with rivets. It is on these surfaces that slipping and friction of our clutch occurs. Then there's a set of damper springs here. They serve precisely to reduce the level of torsional vibrations. If your car has a dual mass flywheel, then often these springs will not be in the clutch plate. This part is called the clutch basket. It has a pressure plate, which as I showed in yellow. The pressure plate in my diagram here is blue. This basket itself is the outer shell, let's call it that. The outer shell is represented in blue. Here it is, the basket. The basket itself is attached directly to the flywheel along this outer diameter through these holes. There is also a so-called damper spring. Here it is. It has these pedals. If you press this spring with great force, then this plate will go a little into the clutch basket. Another important part is the release bearing. In my diagram, it's shown in black, and it moves in this axial direction. Then, as the clutch works, when you press the clutch pedal, this device begins to put pressure on our diaphragm spring. After the diaphragm spring is deformed, this plate falls inward and a gap is formed. Let's look again at how it's all installed in the car. First, the clutch basket with the pressure plate is installed. Next, the clutch plate is installed directly. And the third plate, as you remember, is the flywheel. I don't have it here now. It's replaced by my palm, the flywheel. When you don't touch the clutch pedal, all these plates touch each other and rotate as one. That is, the engine, flywheel, and then the clutch, gearbox, and our wheels rotate. When you press the clutch pedal, the release bearing presses on the diaphragm spring, and this pressure plate moves slightly in that direction. The gap here appears. I show this gap to scale, and thus the transmission of torque from the engine further to the gearbox does not occur. So the clutch works in this simple way. These two parts are called a clutch kit on the auto parts market. The flywheel is sold separately. According to the factory, the clutch is designed for approximately 150 to 200,000 kilometers. The main reason for failure is the wear of these friction linings. They simply physically wear out and the clutch begins to slip because it has nothing to grab onto. The second reason for failure is wear of this diaphragm spring. That is, its properties begin to gradually change and it stops working properly. When you have already disassembled this mechanism, it makes sense to also replace the release bearing because it also constantly rotates and has its own lifespan. As I already said, the bearing can be mechanical and it moves using levers. That is, when you press the pedal using levers, it moves in this case in this direction. But I have a hydraulic bearing presented here. That is, pressure is applied through this tube and the bearing presses on our diaphragm spring. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it, subscribe to our channel, and all the best to you. See you again.